Daniel Chidiac. Stop letting everything affect you. Break free from overthinking, emotional chaos, and self-sabotage. Narrated by Ariane Stanley. One moment, you're convinced you've finally got it together. The next, everything feels like it's collapsing. You mentally return to conversations you'd like to rewrite. You brace for stress that hasn't arrived. You carry burdens not meant for you. The smallest change in circumstance derails you. Deep down, you know the real problem has nothing to do with other people. It's not those who've harmed you, disappointed you, or withheld appreciation. The truth is more unsettling. You've allowed every circumstance and every person access to your inner calm. It's the relentless self-judgment that has become the loudest voice in your mind. In this blink, you'll discover why you feel everything so intensely and what to do about it. You'll learn that this emotional reactivity developed repeatedly until it became your default response. And through practical strategies, you'll learn to protect your peace without guilt, set boundaries that actually hold, and reclaim yourself unapologetically. Consider this your turning point. Let's begin. Why you feel everything. Imagine waking up already behind schedule. Your phone's flooded with notifications, you rush through your morning, then spill your coffee. It seems small, yet something inside you breaks. Now you're spiraling. You should have left earlier. You can't get anything right. By the time you reach your next meeting, you're already drained. This is what happens when your brain feels everything intensely. 1 in 5 people are naturally wired with a more reactive nervous system. Your brain notices subtleties others overlook, shifts in tone, changes in body language. That sensitivity makes you empathetic, but it leaves you exhausted carrying emotional weight that isn't yours. The real problem isn't that you feel deeply, it's that your mind gets trapped in what's called the anxiety loop. Your brain latches onto a worry, amplifies it with stress, then persuades you that dwelling on it will solve it. Most anxieties you carry never materialize. You replay conversations and construct catastrophic narratives that never occur. Your brain isn't protecting you. In reality, it's trapping you. But pause and ask yourself this: will this matter in 6 months? The answer's almost always no. So why does this behavior persist? Your mind learned that repetition equals control. If you think through something long enough, you can prevent it, right? Wrong. Worrying won't prevent problems. It only strips away your sense of peace. Try these 3 tools to break free. First, try witness practice. Identify what you're feeling. Using language like "I'm disappointed" instead of "I feel bad" activates your rational brain. Create distance by saying "I notice anxiety building" instead of "I'm anxious." Locate where you feel it physically. This shifts you from becoming the emotion to observing it. Second, use thought containment. Pick a 15-20-minute window each day for worry time. When anxious thoughts arise, write them down. Tell yourself you'll address them during your designated time. This gives your brain the control it craves without letting thoughts consume your entire day. Third, when caught in a loop, ask yourself, how is this thinking helping? Then, thank your anxiety. Gratitude shifts your neural activity away from stress. Instead of fighting, acknowledge it. This will weaken its grip. Breaking free from the control and rejection cycle. Rejection triggers the same neural alarm as physical pain. Your brain registers this as a fundamental threat, which means you'll do almost anything to regain control. You overanalyze, seek validation, try to prove yourself. When you feel you're winning, gaining approval or proving your worth, your brain releases dopamine, a potent reward. But the high you feel fades, leaving you still bound to what hurt you. This happens because your brain learned long ago that group exclusion could mean death. Now, any small sign of rejection, a delayed text, a cold tone, triggers that ancient survival fear. You're not being irrational. You're responding to a real threat signal, even if today's danger isn't real. Here are 3 approaches to interrupt this cycle. Start with a control inventory. Write down what's stressing you. Next to each item, identify one thing you can actually influence. Traffic jam? What's your response to the delay? Someone's opinion of you? How do you speak to yourself about it? Project deadline? How will you allocate your time today? This redirects your brain's resources towards what's in your hands. When tension rises, pause and ask, what can I control right now? Then act. Second, use an emotional circuit breaker. When rejection anxiety hits, take a breath and acknowledge what's happening. You're feeling threatened, yet you're actually safe. Ground yourself physically. Place your hands on something nearby. Zero in on a specific object. Notice the sounds around you. Identify what you genuinely need in this moment. This allows your rational brain to engage before you respond. Third, try value alignment practice. Identify 3 to 5 core values that matter to you. For example, courage, integrity, growth, and connection. When facing rejection or uncertainty, consider what someone genuinely grounded in those values would choose in this moment. Then do it, no matter what others think or do. This activates neural reward systems independent of approval. True victory is living by your standards. With practice, you'll stop needing external validation to feel worthy. Setting boundaries without drowning in guilt. Have you noticed you're exhausted for reasons you can't quite name? You're likely carrying emotional weight that isn't yours. Other people's stress, their problems, their unresolved issues. You've absorbed them so naturally you barely notice. Your body keeps score anyway, through exhaustion, resentment, and physical depletion. Guilt traps you further. When you try setting limits, guilt surfaces immediately, suggesting you're selfish. This guilt is withdrawal from a pattern your brain has learned, a physical response to unfamiliar behavior. Enforcing boundaries feels like betrayal because you've spent years overgiving. Your brain experiences the discomfort as unbearable, so you slip back into the same old pattern. One-sided relationships persist because once you've shown people you'll always show up, they stop trying. Boundaries only become real when you consistently uphold them. People learn what's acceptable through your actions, not your words. When someone brings their problems to you, practice the compassionate container technique. Visualize their emotions as water. Instead of absorbing it, imagine creating a container to hold it separately. You see it, honor it, offer care, but it stays contained, apart from you. You can also carry out an energy exchange audit. For 1 week, track significant interactions. Before each, note your state: energized, neutral, depleted. During, observe what emotional weight you absorb. After, check how you feel. Look for patterns. Which relationships drain you consistently? Which involve carrying burdens that aren't yours? Your aim is to build awareness here, not assign blame. Then implement the boundary reinforcement system. Prepare boundaries beforehand. These are time, when you're available, emotional, what support you'll offer, physical, what feels safe, and mental, what topics you won't discuss. Communicate calmly and directly. Keep statements simple and clear. I have 20 minutes available, then my focus needs to shift elsewhere. Or, that won't work for me. When guilt arises, acknowledge it without judgment. Tell yourself, this sensation will pass. My nervous system is adapting to unfamiliar territory. Maintaining boundaries despite guilt will train your neural pathways to link self-protection with strength, not selfishness. The moment you know it's time to leave. Have you ever been told something didn't happen when you clearly remember it did? That you're overreacting, imagining things, or remembering wrong? Someone deliberately undermines your confidence in what you've experienced until questioning yourself becomes automatic. This is gaslighting, a tactic that works by making you question whether your thoughts, feelings, and memories are even real. Gaslighting works alongside another tactic, victim playing. When confronted, manipulative people rewrite the story. Suddenly, they're the one suffering, you're the cruel one for reacting, and the damage they caused vanishes. It's not just lying, it's rewriting history so thoroughly that they believe their own version. Recognize you're being manipulated by noticing patterns. After conversations, do you feel worse instead of heard? Do you constantly defend basic facts about what happened? Do your concerns get turned back on you? If you're answering yes repeatedly, you're in a manipulation dynamic, not a communication problem. There'll come a moment when you just know. Not dramatic or explosive, just a quiet realization that you're tired. Tired of being the only one who cares, the only one trying to fix things. Tired of holding on to who they could be instead of accepting who they really are. When that hits, know this. This is the last time they'll make you feel this way. Begin with the Reality Preservation Protocol. Document interactions in a private journal immediately. Exact quotes, context, your emotional response. This maintains your grip on reality when someone's rewriting history. Share your experience with one trusted person outside the relationship and ask, does this seem reasonable? You're calibrating your reality meter when manipulation has tampered with it. When ready to leave, implement the clean break protocol. Get honest with yourself. Could you accept this pattern repeating for another 5 years? If the answer is no, you have your clarity. Create a departure plan with practical logistics, support resources, and anticipated tactics. Most importantly, embrace communication minimalism. Direct language, no explaining or reasoning, one communication, then disengage. The moment you decide to walk away for real, you'll already know in your heart it's the right decision. Dissolution and emergence. A caterpillar's transformation is far more profound than simply growing wings. Inside its chrysalis, it completely dissolves. Not gradually, completely. It exists in a state of pure possibility. No longer caterpillar, not yet butterfly. Biologists refer to this as the imaginal stage, a period of complete internal reconstruction. There's no in-between state. There's only dissolution, then reformation. This is what's happening to you now. You've walked away from what hurt you. The exhaustion of pretense finally releases. But then comes something unexpected. Dizziness, disorientation. You're noticing how much of who you were was built on protection. The overthinking, people-pleasing, self-doubt. These were shells you needed. They helped you survive. But now they're dissolving, and without them, you don't know who you are. This empty space terrifies most people. Your old identity will resist fiercely. It'll give you reasons why this dissolution is dangerous. It'll remind you of past failures as proof you can't change. Without familiar landmarks, you temporarily lose your way. You might wonder, was I really that unhappy before? Should I go back? But this emptiness is where transformation happens. You're shedding an identity that no longer fits. What you feared as emptiness was actually a void waiting to be filled with new possibilities. Possibilities that couldn't emerge while you clung to your old patterns. What's emerging isn't new. It's been there all along beneath the protective layers you built. As you outgrow the old patterns, quiet confidence replaces constant overthinking. Where you once desperately sought approval, you now trust your own judgment. The burden of guilt eases as you recognize something that was always true: your inherent worthiness. The fire inside you has been waiting all along. Your ego keeps you small, not just through arrogance, through self-doubt, fear of judgment, and hesitation. It tells you avoiding discomfort protects you. It doesn't. Here's what actually works. Change your environment. When you're stuck in anxiety loops, the problem isn't always your mind. It's where you are. A weekend away, a day in nature, working from somewhere different creates space faster than mental effort alone. Physical movement often precedes internal shifts. As you move through this dissolution with intention, remember, you're becoming who you've always been beneath all the adaptations and compromises. Acceptance, gratitude, and freedom. The author, Daniel Chidiac, begins most days with a heaviness in his chest. Before he even opens his eyes, regrets from yesterday merge with anxieties about tomorrow, pressing down all at once. It's a familiar weight, difficult to name, yet impossible to ignore. But he's discovered something. His day doesn't actually begin in that darkness. It starts when he rests his hand over his heart and speaks his steadying mantra. Thank you for another day of life. A change takes hold. He lists things he's grateful for. The people in his life who see him completely and stay. The physical strength that keeps him moving despite its limits. Another opportunity to start fresh. With each breath, gratitude carves out room inside him for reality as it is and possibilities ahead. Every single day is a gift. You've probably heard that to heal, you must forgive. Forgiveness, though, isn't mandatory. If wounds run deep, if someone has reshaped who you are or your sense of being safe, healing doesn't fit one pattern. Genuine forgiveness, if and when it comes, carries real power. It can't be pressured or rushed. It unfolds at its own pace, or it doesn't come at all. Both paths are equally okay. You can still move ahead, set firm limits with people, and reclaim your sense of wholeness without ever forgiving. What counts most is living in a manner that aligns with who you truly are. You'll falter. Words will come out wrong during conversations. You'll mentally replay exchanges and wish things had gone differently. Experience the feeling in full. Accept what happened. Then move ahead. That's all required. Feelings are transient. They arrive, show you something, and then depart. Don't cling to them or fight them. Let them teach you and move on. Reflect on your past. Think of the obstacles you faced, the moments when continuing felt impossible. You pressed on anyway. That strength you found then, you have it now, and always will. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison. He emerged at 75 and transformed a nation. Your next 27 years are still ahead of you. It's never too late to begin again. In this blink to Stop Letting Everything Affect You by Daniel Chidiac, you've learned that your emotional reactivity is a pattern developed over time, which means it can change. Your brain amplifies worries into loops that never materialize, but you can observe thoughts without becoming them. You have far more control than you believed. What you can't control, the actions of others, rejection, you can choose how you respond to. When someone manipulates you, you're permitted to leave. Your boundaries aren't selfish, they're essential. Forgiveness isn't mandatory. It arrives when ready or it doesn't. Both paths are equally valid. What matters is moving forward in alignment with your values. You're shedding who you've been. The emptiness you feel is space for transformation. Daily gratitude practices rewire your nervous system toward stability. Emotions are temporary visitors. You don't have to cling to them. Your peace is yours to reclaim. You've walked through the patterns that trap you, the boundaries that free you, and the daily practices that rebuild your stability. The work isn't over. It's just the beginning. Each time you choose observation over reaction, authenticity over obligation, your nervous system will learn something new. Well, that's it for this blink. If this blink resonated with you, we'd be grateful for your rating and feedback. It helps us create summaries that matter. Until next time, remember, you're stronger than you think. You always have been.